going on, everybody? It's me again, Gold and Blue Dude, and another great car video for you. What can I say? Sometimes this is just how the day goes. By the way, if you haven't already, go ahead and hit the like and subscribe button. I do college football and college basketball videos every single day. I try to do them in studio, but I have 4 kids, some other stuff I had to do today, so it's going to have to be a car video. And I've been thinking today, how in the world is the Pac-12 still considered a Power 5 conference? I mean, my gosh, they haven't won a national championship since 2005. I stand corrected, actually 2004, so it's even worse than I thought. And that was a split national championship. They haven't been to a national championship since Oregon got whooped by Ohio State back in 2015. They've only made the playoffs twice. They don't have a dominant team. Nobody's really all that good ever. They don't really make all that much money. Out of all the conferences, they would be in the most trouble financially. I don't think they're really in trouble, but I'm saying they're the closest to being in trouble. The Pac-12 network is a joke, and it's difficult to even watch a Pac-12 game because they play so late, and I understand that. Time zones, they can't help that. But how in the world are they still a Power 5 conference? I don't understand it. I mean, you even look at the final standings of this year. In the North, you had Oregon. They finished first, 10-4. The rest of the North, Washington State, second place, 7-6. Second place, third place, Oregon State, 7-6. Cal, 5-7. Washington, 4-8. And then bottom of the barrel, Stanford, 3-9. And that's the problem. Your bottom of the barrel team, Stanford, 3-9, beat the team that won the North, Oregon. Stanford beat Oregon. There's your issues right there. Now we look at the South. Utah. They also finished the season 10-4. Now the South is a little more top heavy. It's a little bit more respectable. Arizona State 8-5, UCLA 8-4, USC a very disappointing season at 4-8. Then Colorado had a big drop off from last year. They're 4-8. And then of course Arizona, one of the worst teams in all of college football, 1-11. The Pac-12 has probably the worst team in the entire nation in Arizona. I'm talking worse than Vanderbilt and worse than Kansas as far as Power 5 teams. So they at least they can claim that they have the worst team in the nation. They have that going for them. But seriously, when will the Pac-12 make the national championship or the playoffs or win any of the above? Their best team, Utah, who was the Pac-12 champs, beat Oregon twice. They did put up a fight against Ohio State, but they lost in the Rose Bowl. Pac-12 does not have very good showing in bowl games either. So they haven't won a national championship in almost 20 years. They haven't actually been to the national championship in about a decade. Only 2 teams in the Pac-12 has ever made the playoffs, Oregon and Washington. And they have the worst team in all of college football in Power 5 conferences. I mean, what is going on with the Pac-12? Why can they not get it together? I mean, Oregon recruits at a decently high level. USC recruits at a decently high level. I will say this. I think USC made a really good hire in Lincoln Riley. I do think the Trojans will be back with a vengeance this year, and Lincoln Riley will build them into a national championship contender. So maybe there is hope for the Pac-12, but right now they're just floundering. They're just existing. They're not taking any steps forward. In fact, over the past 5 years, they've been taking steps backwards. So I don't understand it. They have been able to avoid extinction. Really, the last conference that was on the verge of extinction was the Big 12 when they lost Oklahoma and Texas. Well, they haven't actually lost them, but we know Oklahoma and Texas are leaving. So they were down to 8 teams. What'd they do? They went out and got 4 quality teams. Cincinnati, UCF, Houston, and BYU. So the Big 12 is looking good again. Not really in any danger of being extinct. I mean, the Pac-12, they have 12 members, so they're really not in any real danger of being extinct. But irrelevant? Yeah, they're definitely irrelevant. And I think there should be a clause or a condition for being a power conference. And I think that the Pac-12 should have that Power 5 status taken away from them. They can earn it back. They can earn it back. I don't know what the stipulations would be. I mean, make the playoffs once every 5 years? I mean, that's reasonable, ain't it? Make the playoffs once every 5 years. One of your teams has to just make the playoffs once every 5 years. That's reasonable. And if you do get the Power 5 status taken away from you, you can earn it back under all the stipulations. I don't think winning a national championship should be a stipulation. I mean, that's difficult, and only 2 teams can compete for that every stinking year. But making the playoffs, You can do that. What about winning a playoff game? They haven't won a playoff game since Oregon. So make the playoffs every 5 years, once every 5 years, and maybe win a playoff game once every 7 years. Make a national championship game once every 10 years. I don't think that's too high of a condition to exist as a Power 5 conference. I mean, you get all the perks, you get all the money, all that stuff, without doing anything. I think you should actually have to earn having that Power 5 status. I mean, you have teams in the group of 5 that really have no shot of getting into the playoffs or making a national championship. Cincinnati was the first one ever. They missed the mark, and they missed it badly. So I think that's going to make the rest of the group of 5 teams pretty much never be able to get to the playoffs or a national championship. I could be wrong about that, but it took a miracle for Cincinnati to get to the playoffs. They had to have a great year last year and have an undefeated season this year. So this was a building thing. I don't think if Cincinnati would have had their year they had last year, go undefeated this year, that they would have gotten to the playoffs. They had to have a good year last year and then build off of it. So I think the group of 5 teams are done. They're not going to make the playoffs unless they are expanded. That's a different story for a different day. But as of right now, I don't think the group of 5s will get back to the playoffs anytime soon. But you have the Pac-12 over there. All they have to do is go undefeated, maybe one loss, win their conference championship, and they definitely have a shot to get to the playoffs. So I don't know what you're doing over there, Pac-12, but you need to get it together. And I'm not really trash talking the Pac-12. I'm just telling you the way it is. I'm giving you facts. It's up to y'all. Y'all are the ones that have to get back to the playoffs, get to a national championship, win a national championship. I mean, I know that definitely is a stretch. But getting to the playoffs, that's not a stretch at all. You can do that. That's a doable goal right there. And I've made a video in the past that the key to conference getting into the playoffs is having one dominant team. And that is the key. And it doesn't just have to be one dominant team, but at least one dominant team every year. Now, for the SEC, it's Alabama. But for this year, it was Georgia and, yes, Alabama, because they beat Georgia in the SEC championship. But it was basically Georgia. For the Big 12, it's been Oklahoma. Oklahoma had a down year this year. What happened? They didn't get in. For the ACC, it's been Clemson. Clemson had a down year this year. What happened? They missed it. For the Big 10, usually it's Ohio State. This year, it was Michigan. My point is, every year, one of your teams has to be a dominant team for you to have a chance. It doesn't have to be the same team year after year after year. It can be a different team this year, a different team the next year, whatever. But you gotta have a dominant team. And looking at the Pac-12 top to bottom, it's not that difficult of a conference. That's what blows me away. You don't have to have an Alabama type of team to win the Pac-12. You could have had, let's say, a Michigan State type of team to win the Pac-12 this year. And they came in third in the Big 10. You could have had a Clemson type of team, and Clemson had a down year. But if they would have played in the Pac-12, they would have won it, and probably with only one loss, with a chance to get to the playoffs. Same thing with the Big 12. I think Baylor would have won the Pac-12 with one loss or undefeated. Oklahoma State, one loss or undefeated. Maybe Oklahoma on a down year, one loss or undefeated. So we're not asking you to have a super elite team, just a good enough team to win a bad conference, undefeated or with one loss. That's not that difficult. So whatever it is you need to do to figure it out, figure it out. Maybe USC has figured it out, getting Lincoln Riley as their head coach. He did the same thing at Oklahoma, making them playoff contenders almost every year. I think he'll do it at USC. So maybe this problem is going to solve itself, and I'll be making a video saying, hey, the Pac-12's back. They finally made it to the playoffs. Got to a national championship. Maybe even won a national championship. I don't know, because it's a different story once you get to the playoffs. You can earn your way to the playoffs through the Pac-12, but your competition, not all that great. You get to the playoffs, and the competition goes through the roof. And the surprising thing was, Oregon beat Ohio State in the horseshoe early in the year, and they still missed the playoffs. How does that happen? I don't know. So all of you Pac-12 subscribers, and even if you're not a Pac-12 subscriber, how long do you think it's going to be before the Pac-12, number one, gets to the playoffs, wins a playoff game, gets to a national championship, and wins a national championship? So 4 different answers. Let me know in the comments section. That's all I got for you for this show. Like and subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you on my next show.